All right, let's get started. We are graphing quadratics in intercept form. So we need to go over a couple things. The first thing we need to talk about is a review of all the forms that we have learned. So here's the first form that we have learned. Standard form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Put that, you can just fit this somewhere in your notes. Vertex form. Vertex form is what we did last week. It looks like this. A, parentheses, x minus h squared plus k, where negative h comma k was my vertex. All right. Today, intercept form. Okay, intercept form is as follows. Y equals A, x minus p, x minus q. There's no squared. And the two parentheses, that is in the format that we've seen before when we factor. So when you factor a quadratic and we use, like the x or the star method or something, our answers were always two parentheses. Remember that? So today, we're going to actually have two answers, two intercepts that will hit on my graph, like I showed you on the picture on the sideboard. So, P and Q are the x-intercepts. P, Q. Okay? And since they're in parentheses, we need to use the opposite sign of what we see. Okay, so now I need you to find another area of space. Maybe the margin is not big enough, notice. Maybe the backside or the top where your name goes, or you can fit it in somewhere. Find a spot that's available on your notes, and I need you to copy down 1 through 7, steps 1 through 7. So I'll press pause so that you can copy down steps 1 through 7. These are the 7 steps that we are going to use to successfully graph a parabola when the equation is given in intercept form. All right, so let's put this all into practice. One thing that I want to point out is what I wrote there in black in my own handwriting. Okay, we have to add up P plus Q, our two x-intercepts. So we add those up and we divide them by 2, and that gives us our first number in our ordered pair for our vertex. So we're going to practice doing that, but that, since I wrote it in my own writing, I wanted to just kind of talk about it again. All right, here's number 1. Now for number 1, I gave you the equation there, and then I wrote in red these extra things, because the directions say graph the function, label the vertex, axis of symmetry, max-min, x-intercepts, domain, and range. So those are all the things that we need to do after. We could do it while we're finding each piece of information, or we could do it all at the end. So, first step, number 1, identify the P and the Q, which are our x-intercepts. So the x-intercepts are right here in parentheses. Remember, it's the opposite signs. The sign, because it's in parentheses, it's not going to be positive 2, it's going to be what? So an x-intercept is 2, and another x-intercept is what? Positive 4. I'm going to give you guys a hint about how you need to make your x and your y-axis, just because I've already graphed it. Please, please, please go low. So draw your x-axis low. Okay? Yeah. Oh, I forgot the negative sign. Pardon me. All right. Graph those points right now. On the x-axis, go to -2 and make a dot at -2. On the x-axis, go to 4. Make a dot at 4. So that part's done. Next step, find the vertex. So my vertex means that I have to do p plus q divided by 2. And that's going to be my x, my first number in my ordered pair for my vertex. Okay, well, it's the p and the q that I wrote in red. -2 plus 4 divided by 2. 2 over 2. So my x equals 1. That's my beginning of my vertex. I'm actually going to write that down where the vertex is now to start it off. 1 comma something. So that's how I find my x. It's not negative b over 2a. It's not b over 2 squared, nothing like that. This one's different. Next, I have my x, it's 1. I need to find y. I find y by plugging it in, plugging my 1 in into my OG original equation. Okay, plug in 1 for x. Here we go. Y equals negative, parentheses 1 plus 2, parentheses 1 minus 4. I plugged in 1 into my original. Do the math. Negative, okay, 1 plus 2 is 3 times 1 minus 4, negative 3, right? I know, this wasn't written very well. Sorry about that. Negative 3, okay, negative 3 times negative 3. 9. My vertex is 1 comma 9. Okay, what's my axis of symmetry on this? How do I find my axis of symmetry? Does anyone remember? In my vertex, what part of the vertex is my axis? Sam? It's x.
1.
So 1. Please make a dotted line down, down, down for 1. Axis of symmetry. 1. Can you please plot your vertex over 1 up 9? Go ahead and do that. Connect the dots, la la la. So we can actually fill in a couple more pieces of information from our information down there in red. Okay, do we know if this is a max or min? Does this graph max out like it has a high point and everything is below it? Or does it have a minimum where there's a low point and the parabola goes up?
It has a max.
It has a maximum. Okay, whenever the parabola is downward facing, it always is max. Whenever the parabola is upward facing, like a U-shaped, it has a min. What are my x-intercepts? Let's fill that data in.
-2 and 4.
Perfect. Domain means the x values. So my parabola is going to go down forever, and it's going to get wider and wider and wider and wider. And it's just going to hit every single number because the further down it goes, the more numbers, the width. What'd you say my answer was? All real numbers. So there's 2 ways to write it. You can write your R, your special R, but I also want to show this to you. Negative infinity is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to positive infinity. Because there are times that you're going to see the domain written in this format, and you need to know that it means the domain is between negative infinity, which is negative everything, negative, and positive infinity. A positive number is higher than you can even think and count. And my range means my y. So range means, is there a number on the y-axis where it's like, that's the highest it'll go, or that's the lowest it'll go? 9. So 9 is going to be my range. Y is, okay, is my parabola less than 9 or greater than 9? Less than. My y values are less than or equal to positive 9. And I am finished. This is all the steps we take. Let's do number 2. Okay. Some basics looking at it. Will my parabola be upward facing or downward facing? Upward. So will my parabola have a max or a min? A min. Why don't you write that in right now? Min. Min, min, min. My X-intercepts. That's the first thing I can find. My X-intercepts are my P and my Q, the numbers that are in parentheses, but the opposite signs. So what are my 2 X-intercepts?
3, -1.
Positive 3, -1. Okay. And then let's graph them. Oh, so this one, just a little helpful tip. Make your x-axis just a little bit higher than average. What do I do next? Plot them. Sure. X equals positive 3. X equals -1. Great. Oh, no, I can't. I can't do my axis of symmetry yet. But how do I find my X? How do I find my axis of symmetry and my X of my vertex? 3 plus -1. P plus Q over 2. 3 plus -1 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2. 1. Okay, my vertex is halfway done. 1 comma something. Can I fill in anything else from my little list down below? Axis of symmetry is 1. I'll do it in blue. Make your dotted line. Toot, 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 toot. Okay. I know that my 1 is my first number in my axis of symmetry. And it's also the first number in my vertex. So, how do I find my y for my vertex? Plug in 1 for x. Y equals, can you see blue? Well, 1 minus 3, 1 plus 1. Okay. Math, what is it? Do you guys agree with him?
Yes.
-8? I do too. Okay. That is the y coordinate of my vertex. And the reason I wanted you to raise your x-axis, because you got to go over 1, down 8. Over 1, down 8. Okay. Connect the dots, la 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 la. Let's now fill in the rest of our information. My x-intercepts. Boy, I could have done that right at the beginning, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Domain. My graph is going to go up, and it's going to get wider and wider, and it'll hit more numbers as it grows. So, what do I say my domain is? All real numbers. So this is the way you know. Let me write that cool R. But, second way, x is in between positive infinity and negative infinity. Lastly, my range. Range means my y, so up and down. Does my graph have a low point or a high point where it's like, oh, it can only go as high as this. It can only go as low as this. -8. This number right here. So this is -8. But everything above -8 is included in my parabola. Y is greater than or equal to -8. You guys are killing it on time. Good job. All right. Okay. So right now, we have not seen an X in the place where A goes. Okay? Let me kind of explain to you what this means. It means this. All right? It means that my equation will look like this. My intercepts, my x-intercepts, right? I'm going to set both of these things. I'm going to set, you know how my x-intercept for sure is going to be a +4, right? Yeah. So I'll say that one of my x-intercepts is +4. But this next one, let me write it out like what it would look like. X take away 0, x take away 4. My parabola would look like that if it were more in expanded form. The problem is that writing x minus 0 is kind of a huge waste of your time. So they didn't, and they just put an x in front. So that means my x-intercept is +4, and my x-intercept is also going to be 0. Okay? So far so good. X-intercepts. X equals 0 and x equals 4. Graph those on your graph. All right. Now, finding the vertex, right? P plus Q. Remember how this is like P and that's Q? So, P plus Q divided by 2. What is it?
2.
2 equals my x, my very first number of my vertex. And let's plug in this one. Oh, my axis of symmetry. What's that? It's also 1. Good. It's 2. Wait. Oh, is that why you guys were all quiet? Like, what is she doing? Yeah, I make mistakes. Absolutely. 2 comma something. Axis of symmetry is 2. Okay. Let's do blue dotted line, right? Okay. I know that my x is 2. To find y, how do I find y? Plug in x into my equation. Y equals X is 2. So it looks like that. Four times -2. That is the second half of my vertex. So vertex, let's plot it. Over 2, down 8. Like kind of like there. Draw your parabola, connect them. Boop, 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 doo, 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 doo. Cool. Okay. And what is my maximum or minimum? What is it? It's minimum because there's a low point and it cannot go under. So there's a minimum to my parabola. Oh, I put mix. Mix. Like the mixtape I'm going to make, right? Yeah, Mrs. Grant's greatest hits. Connect the dots. What else? Plug it in. And I don't even know. Maybe this can be it. Can this just be it right now as I'm recording? Oh, that's the, yes, the quadratic formula song.
Wait, is it recording?
It's recording.
Yeah.
All right. Domain. It's fine, guys.
Sneak peek.
Yeah, sneak peek. In stores in this late summer. I don't know. Okay, domain.
It's gonna be July 4th, 1997.
Okay, domain. How wide will my graph go? What numbers will it eventually hit? All real numbers. Oh, not it. I gotta turn my iPad to the side because otherwise I cannot make a proper infinity. 8 sideways. Perfect infinity. Okay. Something like that. All right. Range. What is my y value where my graph cannot go any, like, y greater than or equal to -8? Okay. Awesome. All right, let's stop there. Okay, here are the ones that we won't have time to get to, but I'll explain it. 1/2 doesn't make your life harder. 1/2, all you do is you add up, like when you're trying to find your vertex, you add up the P and the Q. +6, +4. This is my X value of my vertex. So 1/2 just means that I'm going to do this. 5 minus 6, 5 minus 4. What is half of -1 times a 1? I didn't hear solid decisions. What? Positive or negative half? And you guys like decimals better?
Yes. Same thing. It depends on what other people say.
Okay. So if I were to graph, okay, here's my vertex, friends. Here's my vertex. Over 5, down just a half of a square. Over 5. Down just a half. Right there. My vertex is 6 and 4. I'm sorry, my X-intercepts are at 6. I guess we are ending up doing this problem.
We already did.
When? Oh. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Doesn't matter. See, I made mistakes like 5 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
All right, last thing. Look at how wide this parabola is going to be. Like crazy. Connect the dots. La, 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 la. Look at that madness. So wide. La, 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 la.